Hello friends! So it's Good Friday and I've been asked to bring us a reflection and a chance to contemplate. And it's been hard to decide what to share with you, partly because these are crazy times and that makes everything a bit weird, partly because a new context and format, sharing with you but not being face to face and having to video myself, and partly because it's Good Friday and something kicks in inside me that there's surely a right way to do this, a thing I should say or think or believe about this day. But I don't really believe that. So here I am, happy to offer you what I have, and here we are. Here we are. So before I share some reflections, I'd like to invite you to actually be aware that we are here, that you are here. Yes, we're not sharing this reflection in real time or physical space, but I am lovingly conscious of you, all of you who will watch this video and share this reflection and contemplation with me. And I know that as you watch this, you are aware of me and of others. We are apart and connected. So as we begin, I want to invite you to notice first where you are. And if you need to pause this and get somewhere where you can just be for a few moments, uninterrupted and able to notice and reflect, then feel free to do that. Wherever you are, why not look up for a moment from the screen, which many of us are spending a lot of time looking at these days, and really notice where you are physically. You are alive and you are here. Now notice your body. Notice what is supporting your body. Maybe a chair, a bed, the ground, and how that feels. Noticing how your body feels in this moment. Sensations of clothing, perhaps any areas of tension or pain, any emotions held in the body, and noticing your breath and its natural rhythm as it sustains you. The effortless effort of the body breathing itself. Just breathe for a few moments, either with your body's natural rhythm or taking a few deep restorative breaths. Remember now that others are watching this with you and engaging with this contemplation from where they are, that we are sharing this Easter week and story with many around the world, and this current global experience of pandemic with many more. Our connections with each other are real. How does it feel in your body to remember that? So as I begin to share some reflections, see if you can stay aware of your body, your breath, any emotions, any responses to the reflections. Stay aware of yourself. Feeling free to look up from the screen at your surroundings as you want to. And also if you can be aware of our invisible but real connection with each other. So I realised as I pondered this day and this week that part of the pressure I feel when considering what I could bring as an authentic Good Friday reflection is a throwback to pressure I felt as a child in the way I experienced Easter at church. I felt that I was supposed to feel deeply sad about Jesus' suffering and death, as well as guilty that it was somehow me that made it happen, and that this was meant to then make me feel very excited on Easter Sunday when he came back to life, and so grateful that I wanted to give Jesus my whole life. Maybe it works for some of you to connect with and enter the story that way, and that's great, but for me it didn't. There are many reasons why I think that is, but the one I want to speak to is the way that, for me, this particular telling of the story unwittingly lifted up Jesus' suffering as far greater than and far above and beyond any other human suffering, and definitely greater than my puny suffering, which wasn't really suffering at all in comparison. Since then, I've come to see the story a little differently, realising how Jesus entered into my suffering, into our collective human suffering, not staying untouched and unmoved by it, but revealing a path right through the guts of suffering and dying and death towards resurrection and life. And that is a story I need and can connect with and start to enter into. When we tell Jesus' story, there's no need to fall into the trap of comparative suffering, which is how Brené Brown so brilliantly names our terrible and damaging human tendency to want to compare, evaluate and rank our own and others' suffering. We see a lot of that toxic comparative suffering going on during this pandemic. It can take the form of self-judgment. Why am I feeling so awful and struggling so much when I actually have it good? When there are others around the world who are suffering way more than me? I shouldn't be feeling like this. I should be feeling like this. I should be more grateful, etc., etc. Or it can take the form of judgment of others' responses to the crisis that are different to our own. These responses are understandable as we navigate all this newness and uncertainty, and because we naturally want to be conscious of people around the world who are vulnerable and to be aware of our own privilege. But there's no need to do all this comparing, evaluating and judging now or ever. As I'm sure you've experienced, it doesn't help anyone, not ourselves, as we carry the unavoidable burden of our own experience, or others as they carry theirs. What does help all of us is love. Compassion, empathy, kindness. And thankfully these are not finite resources. The truth is that the reality of someone else's struggle doesn't discount the reality of mine or yours. That pain is pain, and also that love and empathy don't need to be rationed but are, incredibly, a bottomless well offered to us. Something we all need and can give to ourselves and to others. Allowing all of our experiences and feelings to be what they are and to be expressed and validated. We can grow simultaneously in self-compassion and in empathy and compassionate action on behalf of others. In a beautiful way, the Easter story hallows the human experience of suffering and each of our unique paths of suffering, as we are all invited to follow Jesus down the path through death to life in big and small ways. Another reality that the Easter story highlights is that we really need someone to show us this difficult path because, to be honest, we don't want to take it. Here's a Richard Rohr quote that interestingly came up in my Facebook memories just this week and felt very fitting, not just for Holy Week, but also for this strange season we are living with the coronavirus pandemic. Here it is. The human ego prefers anything, just about anything, to falling or changing or dying. The ego is that part of you that loves the status quo, even when it's not working. It attaches to past and present and fears the future. So Rohr didn't write this about the pandemic, but I feel its truth very keenly and specifically right now. Maybe you do too. So again, the human ego prefers anything, just about anything, to falling or changing or dying. The ego is that part of you that loves the status quo, even when it's not working. It attaches to past and present and fears the future. So I don't know about you, but I've definitely felt my resistance to change in these days. And some of the changes of this time do feel like small d dying. Losing things that are life-giving to me, losing social connection, losing my bearings, my freedom, my albeit artificial sense of certainty, and so on. I've also been very aware of my resistance to feeling my difficult feelings that seem to change all the time. I'd rather not enter into them. I'd rather feel good all the time and find ways to get straight back to good when I don't. And even those difficult feelings can feel like dying. It's comforting to me that Jesus' story also shows him not wanting to suffer or die, begging not to, in fact. He lived this common part of our human story too, showing that resistance to suffering and pain and dying, and even just to change, is also a natural part of the path towards resurrection and life, and we can follow him in walking through that resistance too. So now I want to invite you to return to a gentle awareness of your body, just as it is and where it is right now. You may want to close your eyes or let them lower and your gaze be soft. And notice again your breath, the gentle rise and fall of your chest, belly and shoulders. Now take a deep breath in, allowing your belly and chest to really fill, and then a long deep breath out. And again, a deep inhale of fresh air and a long deep exhale, expelling all the stale air from your lungs. Notice any emotions you might be experiencing in your body. Any responses to these reflections or to taking this time to contemplate. Now I invite you to lay aside any needless comparisons of your own experience or suffering with anyone else's, and to take a few short moments to just be aware of what your experience is in this moment, this day, this week. What are the realities of your one wild and precious life? Your experience, yourself. What are the challenges and struggles of your life and your experience right now? Are you aware of any resistance inside you to these challenges? Or resistance to naming them as challenges, as suffering? Or resistance to taking some time to feel the pain of them? If so, just notice that. How does that resistance feel in your body? Does your body feel braced against your own pain or struggle? Tensed, hardened, guarded, closed? Are there emotions that are part of that resistance? Perhaps fear or anxiety? Perhaps guilt or shame? Again, just notice this. No wrong or right way to feel. No need to understand or judge or fix myself and my experience, just noticing in it and allowing it. Trusting that compassion and empathy are not finite resources and don't need to be rationed or earned, can you take these few moments to just sit with yourself, your experience, and any emotions or lack of emotion, and gently, lovingly let it all be. You are deeply loved, here and now, just as you are. I invite you to keep noticing your breath and to take deeper breaths if you want to, breathing into any emotions or discomfort you feel in your body, noticing where and how you carry this in your body, and breathing into that place and that feeling. Let the breath be love, and let it be a gentle letting go. Let the breath express compassion for your dear body and the burden that it bears as you live the reality of your life in all its joys and pains, gifts and struggles. As you breathe and let yourself just be, consider asking your body if there's anything you could listen to now in your emotions, any message they hold for you. Your emotions are here for a reason. Is there a hidden story within and beneath them that you could allow to unfold, now or at a future point? As we sit and breathe and rest in quiet, we just let ourselves and our experience be, and let our emotions be, also letting them speak if they want to. Now, as we rest in this place of simple, loving awareness and attention towards ourselves, I'm going to read for us a few verses from 2 Corinthians 4, which I experience in quite a different way than I used to, now that I'm learning to honour my own experience, including my own body, my own suffering, learning to honour the experience and suffering and bodies of others, and our collective experience as a planet. How do these words from Corinthians strike you? How does your body respond to them? We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not abandoned. Struck down, but not destroyed. We always carry around in our body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be revealed in our body. I'll read that again, and as I do, see if you can feel in your body the hope of these words and of their invitation to enter into and live the story of Jesus' suffering, death and resurrection in our own bodies and through our own real life experience, whatever it may be. Notice too anything that particularly stands out to you in these verses and that you might want to reflect on further at a later point. We are hard pressed on every side but not crushed, perplexed but not in despair, persecuted but not abandoned, struck down but not destroyed. We always carry around in our body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be revealed in our body. Notice as we move towards closing this meditation how you feel in your body now, what you are carrying with you from this time, perhaps some words, a thought, a vague feeling. I invite you now, keeping your eyes closed if they are closed, to slowly turn your attention back to your external world. First, just noticing any sounds around you, near and far, and then gently looking around you again. Whatever you experienced or didn't experience in that short meditation, I hope you carry with you even the smallest amount of new freedom to be exactly where you are at and who you are, and new hope that life will follow death, as it does in the Easter story, as it does in the cycles of the seasons. One of the strange and interesting realities of the story of Jesus, and the Easter story in particular, is that as we remember it each year, tracking with each stage of Jesus' journey, we always know what's coming. Sometimes I wish I could recover the sense of the utter miraculousness of resurrection. But I am also grateful to know the end of the story, as it helps me to trust in this cycle of death and life we are all living. And that when I am in the middle of what feels like dying, there is life on the other side. It's Friday, but Sunday is coming. Spring is arriving and it can't be stopped, even if it snowed today. This pandemic crisis will one day end, however hard that is to imagine or hope for at times. We can't shortcut through the struggle, through the dying, but we can hopefully better hold on through it with that sense of trust or hope for what's to come, however faint those may be at times. I do hope that as our individual and collective grip on normal is loosened through this experience, we may find our way towards letting go of those parts of the status quo that are not working, especially for our planet and for the marginalised and vulnerable among us. And just as spring is feeling more miraculous than ever to me and many of us this year, maybe we will get to experience and feel the utter miracle of resurrection in a new way. Like the kid in a Sunday school class I was teaching at SCV quite a few years ago who, when he arrived on Easter Sunday morning to examine the Easter garden he'd made the week before, couldn't find the clay and cloth figure he'd placed in his little tomb. Because I'd moved the stone in each of the children's gardens and secretly removed the figures. After searching for a while, he looked up at me and exclaimed, "Hey, where's the dead dude? Where's the dead dude?" To which I replied, "Exactly." In our Celtic service liturgy, we say each week, "God is turning the world right side up. New creation has begun." So, amen to that. And thank you, whoever and wherever you are, for sharing this reflection and meditation with me. I'd love to hear from you if you did. And I'm not sure it's quite right to say Happy Good Friday, but it is Easter, so happy Easter. And stay safe, be well, go in peace.